And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast, along with my partners, Brian Siegler and Jonathan Talley. I am Curtis Wilson, and this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts at the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, 301 South Main Street, Blacksburg, Virginia. And we are back with also one of the members of the family, Matej Sis, 247 Sports, joining us. Matej, how you doing first of all tonight?
I'm doing great. This is we got day 2 of EA 25.
Day 2.
So I've been grinding out the dynasty, so doing well. But as always, just such a pleasure to be on here with you guys. I got to be up there with most recurring at this point. So something I'm my most proud title at this point.
We have you on at least twice a season here, at least the last 2 to 3 years. So you're definitely up there with most recurring if you're not at the top of the list, man.
Let's go.
Welcome back. Always fun to talk recruiting with you. We have a couple other fun topics we get to chop up with you tonight. So really happy to have you back.
Tally, how
Yes,
hot
sir.
is it in Alabama, man?
Say what now?
How hot is it in Alabama?
Too hot. It's so hot they mess my Wi-Fi up every day.
Every day?
And burning through the Cat 5 over there.
Yeah. No, man. We had a baseball tournament this weekend, and it was I think it was 97 is what it was saying. We played on 2 turf fields, and it was so hot that parents were moving away from the field, stepping back to try to watch the game because you could smell the turf. It's how hot it was. So our boys had to win 3 games to win it all. They did on Sunday. I don't know how. They looked like they was gonna fall out, but they toughed it out and ended up pulling the tournament out. So good times, man. But it's hot.
Well, congrats to your son and his team with a nice victory there, Tally. I know, we know the trials and tribulations he went through because I think the last time Matej was on, he was still recovering from his injury. So it's great to hear he is fully back playing. And Brian, you said earlier, we got some fun topics after break, including CFB 25, which I'm the only person here that doesn't have a copy. Y'all do, so I'll let y'all talk about it. But we do have Matej on because we got to talk some recruiting because this staff has been on absolute fire since we last came with you. Last time we interviewed you was Coach. Last time we saw y'all, we were interviewing Coach Pry. And after that, Coach Pry lit the barn on fire and got a bunch of recruits. So, Matej, we're going to talk with you about them. But let's reverse it way back. Let's go way back and let's talk about the portal additions right after the end of spring ball. Colin Schlee, Curtis Perry, Caleb Spencer. As you started getting the wind of each of these players, knowing their backgrounds, knowing their histories, knowing where they fit in the discussions, what is it telling you about this upcoming season and the way this staff feels?
Yeah, I think, with these 3 guys in particular, they're kind of your luxury signings in the portal. When you look at what they were able to do with some of their other signings in the transfer portal to be able to plug those holes that they had, with these 3 guys, like you look at Colin Schlee and, they feel really good about Pop Watson. Even last season, he was the number 2 quarterback for a large part of the season when Grant Wells was hurt. But Schlee was a guy with 1 year left. He just came from UCLA. He was at Kent State before then. He's 6'3", 225, as opposed to Watson, who's, I think, 5'11" and listed at 175. So he's a guy, they're so confident in Kyron Drones that, if you think this team is going to be as good as expected, they're going to need someone in mop-up duty late in games to be able to take that load in the running game, to be able to, take some of those hits at the end of the game. And I think Schlee is kind of like a gap year before Pop Watson really can take over for this program. Then you look at Curtis Perry, and that guy out of Alabama, just such a great recruit and a guy that, the staff said, if we can take him, we'll take him. Like, this is a guy that will develop into a big-time player. I don't think he has a huge role for next year. He could fight his way to that number 4, number 5 defensive tackle. But he's a guy that you're looking long-term with him. You feel pretty good about the direction of the defensive tackle room. We look at it a couple of years ago. It's pretty bare. So now you have some guys, you're kind of staggering, the years of what the guys have there. And then Caleb Spencer, I think he was the last add of the class. he's kind of a do-it-all guy, and I know that they have some familiarity. He's an LCA guy. He can really play at nickel. I think they're going to try to slot him in at safety. He's a guy that can play star. I mean, there's a lot of versatility there, but they were looking for someone like that can play multiple positions in the defensive back end. So, all in all, these are luxury signings, but, especially with Perry and Spencer, these are guys that I think will be starters, maybe 2025, 2026.
Yeah, and I know when we had Coach Pry on last month, he was talking about Spencer in particular, and I think everybody had him kind of thinking about safety, maybe nickel corner or something like that, and he's like, yeah, linebacker, like right out the gate. I was like, all right, so he's that type of versatile.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
Good to get him back.
We're gonna get to it a little later on, but
go ahead, Tyler.
I was gonna say, I'll tell you what, if you play 25 NCAA 25, they like Perry on now. He's on the field a lot.
All right. Note taken. Note taken. Yeah,
Colin Schleek gets a lot of mop-up duty. I've noticed that as well. Like he's in there, he's running out the clock there. So it's always good to see those guys up on the screen a little bit. It's kind of it's something 12 years in the making for a lot of us. So it's kind of it's hard to ignore that piece of it. Before we flip over to the commits for the 25 class, we did sneak in there and get a 26 commit, and that's Peyton. Is it Falzone? Falzone? Yeah, the quarterback, Nazareth, Pennsylvania. 6'5", 200. Looks like a kid, maybe kind of a fast riser at this point, as far as rankings may be concerned. What do we know about this kid? I know it's still kind of early on in the 26 process here.
Yeah, I mean, it's always an arms race to get a quarterback in your class. Like, you always want to get that guy, whether it's like a Keldon Ryan this year. I think he committed same time maybe last year. Mm-hmm. But, this is a guy that, he comes out of Penn State territory, definitely a lot of connections to the staff, obviously. He was really looking at Penn State and Virginia Tech. I think Penn State took another 4-star quarterback a couple days before he decided to commit. I know we were joking before we jumped on here about everyone taking vacation. Pry was actually on vacation when they took the commitment. But he's a guy that, he loved what he saw from, the offensive presentation from Tyler Bowen. He's a 6'5", 200-pound guy, and I think a lot of people are quick to assume that he's a pocket passer, but he's a guy that certainly has a bit of wiggle. I think he listed his 40 at 4.6. It's probably closer to like a 4.8, but he's a guy that, is able to really be in that read option game. He has kind of a shortened motion, but a lot of arm strength. I think recently that other site ranked him a 4-star.
The site should remain nameless.
So, there's a lot of potential there. I think there's a lot to like about him. I definitely think he can fill into his frame, but he's definitely a guy that I think, has huge potential. And, I wouldn't say watching his film, he's like a perfect fit for the offense, but I think with growth, he can certainly get there. As his body kind of morphs into college shape, like, I think he'll be better in the ground game. He's more of I wouldn't call him like he's certainly not drones in his running ability, but he's a guy that can, move in the pocket. Again, play that read option game. There's a lot of development to be done. Again, he's a 2026 guy, but really, really high ceiling with him.
100%.
We still got two high school seasons before we'll see him join the Hokies in the future if he gets to signing day there. So it sounds like he's a guy that has a little bit of the skill set that we're looking for, but maybe not quite those like high end athletic attributes that you see out of Pop Watson or Kyron Drones.
Absolutely. But definitely the size and the ability to get there. And I think that's, they really want, he's a guy that when you have that unquestioned ability, especially as a passer, like you take him and you see what you can do once he's on campus. And I think he's a great add to the class.
Yeah. And Matej, you mentioned having a little bit of wiggle. I think what his sophomore season, like over 400 yards rushing on like 60 attempts. So it might not be the drones level or the pop level athleticism, but it's that enough that if it's in the read option game, that end has to stay home, because the second he crashes, he's going to take off for a 15 or 20 yard run. And it's like, okay, now let's flip it to 2025. And let's start with this guy, because this was the first guy immediately back on June 14th that committed. Christian Evans out of Stonebridge High School, Power up in Northern Virginia here, listed at 6'2.5", 280 pounds, rated as a 3-star, 88. Tally, you hear that? They got him at 247, has him as an 88 so far. Got to make that point, because y'all know Tally, he walks it like a hawk. But
They better get it right.
Sean Quinn, the primary recruiter, J.C. Price secondary, tons of offers. I mean, you see like in Oklahoma, you see North Carolina, you see a bunch of different places. Penn State had interest in this guy. And most recently for the Under Armour camp, he was the DL MVP up at that camp up in Baltimore, which is a big camp. How did the commitment go, and what do you feel he's bringing to the table, Matej?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great interior guy. Like when you think about Virginia Tech recruiting, I know I kind of alluded to it with the defensive tackle group, but like it's not often that you see these big time commitments in the trenches in the interior. Last year and now Christian Evans are maybe the exceptions to that. Like really high motor guy, can really get up the field. As you mentioned, was the MVP of that camp. Oklahoma was squarely in the mix, but he really wanted to stay close to home. That was huge for him. Ultimately, it came down to, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, and UVA. And I love what he had to say on his commitment that, he wanted to play for the flagship program in state. Just really believed in the vision. I think he was heavily leaning towards Virginia Tech, and then it was the official visit. He was able to be there with a lot of other guys that are now in this class, and just being able to spend time with them, spend multiple hours with the coaching staff, really sold him at the end on the vision.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear, and we talk about the reiteration of the flagship program. I'm glad that's starting to get hammered home again, and folks are starting to take recognition of that. So good to keep that branding out there for the program. Let's flip it over to the next guy here, and this one's kind of close to Curtis and I's heart a little bit, because his dad played at our high school, won a state championship for our high school. So I've got a little bit of tie in there. But AJ Brand, quarterback out of South Carolina, Columbia, we get to go into Shane Beamer territory and snatch one out. Looks like South Carolina was the other team with the big push. They wanted him probably primarily at safety. We were good for him at quarterback. So what can you tell us about AJ Brand?
Yeah, this is one that once the wheels started to turn, they moved fast. Like Virginia Tech has been on AJ Brand for a long time, but really, we heard, they wanted 2 quarterbacks this entire time. They had Keldon Ryan for over a year. There was a lot of smoke out of the Malik Washington camp, but then eventually, I think when Tyler Bowen's looking at it, he looks at AJ Brand. He has a bit of a quirky throwing motion, but he's just a perfect fit for what they want at quarterback in this system. And I think as time went on, as they got to know him better, as they got to see him a bit more, they realized this is the guy we want to really bring into the program, work on those throwing mechanics once he gets to campus, but someone that they really believe in. And they went all in on him. And like you said, it was a big battle against South Carolina. That's his, home state. That's, there's a lot of trends in this class specifically more than any other year with battles against Shane Beamer and South Carolina. And, they really believed in him at quarterback. And I think that was enough to get him in the boat.
Yeah. And I think the one thing I like about him, first of all, I will say this firsthand experience. One of my cousins played against AJ. They beat him last year, and this year their school, Irma, beat them. But if you checked out, I mean, he was the state player of the year down there in 4A in South Carolina, which is the second biggest division. So you're not dealing with a bunch of small schools. And you look at his numbers, I mean, he went 3,000 as a sophomore. Or a junior? 3,000 yards, 45 touchdowns, 1,100 on the ground, 7. I mean, he was that team's offense, and that's crazy to see. I'll say this: I know y'all have even a recruiting profile on him. I mean, that man needs a bump. That man needs a bump from an 86 because you don't do all that as a junior in that level of competition. So, Matej, make the wheels turn. All right,
I got a question since you brought it up. I didn't want to bring it up, but Curtis used the word bump. So I got a question.
Bump.
So, and this is just for a normal college fan, not a crazy Virginia Tech fan. If a young man commits to a school, is it harder for him to get a bump because he's not really actively being recruited? I know he may be still being recruited by other people, but like not actively going to maybe a lot of camps, or you kind of know where he's at. It's not as much publicity going to be on him in the recruiting ranks unless it's a flip in them. So is it harder for a player that's committed, earlier to get a bump like that?
I think yes and no. Definitely with the camps, like you're not going to go to camps once you're committed. You're not visiting other schools, hopefully. But at the same time, I think where the biggest bumps come in are those senior films. Once those come in, like I'm trying to think, who was it? Jaden Payout, who got like a bump from like an 84 to like a 90. And that was like late November of his senior year. So there are stories certainly of guys getting those bigger bumps senior year. It's a bit of luck as well. Like you got to make sure that evaluator has your tape and that you have some pretty excellent tape there. But with a lot of these guys in the class, like certainly expect some bumps.
Well, it happened last year, I don't know, just kept right at that 88 number was what you said. That senior film came in December, and it was like, whoa, this guy is a 4. Like a couple guys went to 4-star. A couple guys got the Gabe Williams thing was great because they bumped Gabe back up where he originally was before he committed. So, I mean, we get it, but we always are watching y'all. We watching y'all.
I know.
But it's not you, Matej. We know it's not you, but it's everyone.
It's him too.
I always joke around that we have the UVA intern because once someone commits to Virginia Tech, normally you see that little, decrease in the rating. But it's funny because I think out of, all the sites, if you go to their individual profiles, you can see their historic rankings. Like you can see when they got the bump or the drop. So everyone's always checking that. Trust me. I get a lot of DMs about that.
Yes.
Hey, what's going on with these numbers, man?
Christian Evans got the bump, a nice bump after he committed. A nice bump, and it puts him very close to the 89 4-star. All right, I'm going to flip. Let's talk to another guy. Let's take it back to the DMV. We're staying in the footprint, though. And one of the big ones, the DeMatha Catholics, Noah Chambers, linebacker, 6'2", 216. 86 is the star rating. Some solid offers. It's one of those we kind of always look at. Comes to linebackers and safeties. I see Pitt on there. If a linebacker has a Pitt offer, he's probably a good fundamentally sound player and probably can do good things. But DeMatha, there's Elijah again. There's that connection. And even though Marv was his primary, Elijah's right on there with him. How big of a get is to keep that DeMatha train rolling, and what is it looking like, or what's the story behind the Noah commitment?
Yeah, so I mean it's huge. I mean, you think about it, Dante Lovett, Emmett Laws, now you got Noah Chambers. This was a guy that, was top of their board in terms of linebacker prospects from the beginning of the cycle. Obviously, like Brett Clatterbaugh was, the top guy that everyone looks at because of his star rating. And that was one that they definitely wanted to get in early. I think Noah could have probably committed earlier, but he really took his time with this process. And Virginia Tech was the first offer for him. Like they were out there in the very beginning. They stuck with him the entire time. They were straight up and honest with him. And, I think where you look at Brett Clatterbaugh and like great prospect, I think Noah Chambers also has the opportunity to really blow up. Like I think he's just so athletic and he's a guy that can play multiple positions. Like I would not be surprised if, he's a guy that sees the field maybe even earlier than Clatterbaugh. So really, really good get. And especially with the context of they had two guys at linebacker that they desperately wanted, and they were able to land both of them.
Pretty good because we need it. I mean, we've had so many times in the past where, you're thinking, man, if we had a linebacker in this position, this game would be a little bit different. So it's good to see them getting some talent in there. Speaking of talent, we're going to go to the next recruit. Green Run kid. Got to go, shout out to Brody Adams, man, for starting that wave. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to him and his family. Yes, for starting that wave. We've had this is the third kid from Green Run from this recruiting class. So crazy. But Zeke, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the last name, but 6'6", 240. I think this kid just transferred there. Yep. So his first year at Green Run. Let me see, 247. Y'all got him at a 85. So that's okay. I ain't gonna get on you too bad about that. I need to see what he do. I'm gonna go with Matej and we're gonna watch some film and we're gonna see about, if we need to throw any bumps in there. But kid seems like he has a lot of potential, like I said, as far as a high ceiling guy. What are you thinking about him, Matej?
Yeah, I mean, he's great. I think, a lot of the guys on the VTScoop team have, in our Slack, we're always talking about him and just how he might be the biggest hidden gem of this class. Like, he's definitely very raw. A third guy from Green Run, obviously didn't play there last year, but he's a guy that's going to come over from Ocean Lakes. They beat out West Virginia for him. I think it's great that he's going to be able to play against Thomas Wilder, who's a 2026 recruit on Green Run. Keep an eye out for him. 4-star guy, pretty much has offers from everybody. He's 6'6", 285. Ooh. So Zeke is going to go against him in practice every single day. Like, these are two solidified D1 guys going at it. I think his senior development will be huge. And, again, he's a guy that 6'6", 240-pound defensive ends don't grow on trees. Like, this is a guy that's going to absolutely transform his body at the collegiate level and, just humongous upside. So I think 85 is fair for him now based on what he's shown. But he's a guy that you got to get him in there and see what, once you coach him up, what he can become.
Yeah, he's got the physicals. He's got, some of those intangibles. So it's all about what does that production look like on the field, and will that warrant a bump and kind of move him up in that class?
Exactly.
Let's go to somebody else that's kind of at that lower side of the class in terms of 247 Sports has him at an 86. Nathaniel Wright, Woodbridge, Virginia. Big guy already. 6'5", 275. Looks like he's going to slot in at that interior offensive line. What have you seen from him? What's the feelings on his potential, especially on an O-line that needs probably a little bit of depth here?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that with the O-line, there was a couple guys from this class. There, obviously, I think there were a couple top-end guys that Virginia Tech missed out on, and they would admit that as well. Whether, they just wanted to go to bigger programs or found a better place for them. But I think when you look at Nathaniel Wright, he's a guy that was able to go to a camp, earn an offer out of a camp. They really liked what they saw from him and really prioritized him after Carter Stallard. So big guy, interior guy. Like, yes, he's an 86, but he's also the 4th highest rated offensive lineman out of Virginia. So I think that was another huge thing as well. So just all around, I think, sometimes coaches really trust in their evaluations, especially when they see guys in camp. And I think he was a guy that kind of rose towards the upper half of their board just because they were able to see him in person and really evaluate him.
Definitely. We're always looking for offensive linemen. Got to get Brian over there to show him some footwork. Brian's got all kind of records, man. So we got to show him how to lift them weights, man. They ain't lifting hard enough, I don't think. Right, Brian?
I think Brian froze up there.
But yeah, I guess I don't like this. Yeah. I ain't know if it was me or him. Am I freezing?
Right.
Am I good?
You good?
You good now?
So yeah, being very early in the class or being in the class in general, I don't like to say favorites, but I am going to say my favorite recruit right now is Jeff Overton. I think Dwight Vick may have been the first person that told me about Jeff Overton a little while ago, maybe a year and a half ago or something like that. But yeah, I mean, crazy athletic, man. If you go watch his film, anybody, if you haven't watched his film, please do. I'm not going to even talk rankings right now because I don't want to put Matej on the spot. I'm just going to let him talk, and then I may come back in and say something. But Matej, how you feeling about Jeff Overton?
First off, I'll say this. I do have a bias with a lot of these recruits. I'm able to really see them, get to know them. And so a lot of them I want to give bumps, right? Like I do have that bias, but like objectively speaking here, Jeff Overton should be a 4-star. Like there's no question about it. And he's a guy, again, like was a can't lose prospect out of this class, no matter what his ranking says. Gatorade Football Player of the Year, put up absolute video game numbers. Like, I don't know, they're finding Tyler Mason, who's, has over 110 touchdowns in his career, but like Jeff Overton is doing it at an even higher level. He had 41 touchdowns last year, 13 yards per carry. Just like this guy has a bit of everything that you want out of the running back position. Just an absolute total package. And again, just a can't miss prospect. They went all out for him, rolled out the red carpet, and they got him. And, again, top of the board prospect. I'm so excited about his future at Virginia Tech.
And when he says rolled out the red carpet, he means rolled out a white Rolls Royce. Somebody in the chat said, I don't know who Death on the Plate is. Thank you for watching, though. Think he asked his Drones dad on. Yes. Mr. Kevin Drones is usually on with us. That's family. He's usually watching with us. He's usually popping in and out. So, yes, sir. That is Mr. Drones right there. Shout out to Mr. Kevin.
100%.
Meet us in Nashville, everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Definitely
sir.
meeting y'all in Nashville. And you mentioned those video game numbers. Hayfield's in 6A. 6A is it's nothing but the biggest. It's nothing but the biggest. Throw that on here. I want to get Brian's opinion on that. Brian, your opinion on this before we jump to the next recruit.
Do I think O-line could benefit from ballet? I mean, I think personally anybody can benefit from ballet because anything that you can do to improve your balance is going to improve your performance on the field.
Yoga, a lot of that stuff. Like it sounds funny, but a lot of offensive linemen or anybody who has to, contort your body and do different things that they have to do. Being big guys, Pilates, yoga, a lot of people take part in that, even ballet sometimes.
I mean,
hip-hop
it's not talked enough about,
you.
when you're blocking, having to maintain your balance while still moving somebody backwards, moving laterally, vertically at the same time. I mean, it's a lot of balance that takes place there. So anything that can improve that, go for it.
100%. So there you go. From a former offensive lineman himself and from Tally, collegiate football player as well, that stuff benefits. So I'm going to flip it. Stay on the line. We went to the DMV. We got one. We went to South Carolina. Let's finally rip one out of North Carolina. Let's talk about Sherrod Henderson, the edge out of Rocky Point, North Carolina. Hyde Trask. I don't know, Robbie, if you're out there listening, give us some background on Hyde Trask. 6'3", 210, an 86. A solid offer list for him. You see a team like Michigan State, Duke, especially Duke with Manny Diaz. We know he likes those fast edge rushers. But how did this commitment come together? Because a lot of these names, Matej, I'll be honest, I've seen Evans, I've seen Overton, Zeke was one. This one pops up and it's like, who's this and where did this come from?
Again, it's, they really make this effort in June to get guys on campus for official visits, really to get them around other members in the class and really detail what their outlook would look like at Virginia Tech. I believe he had, a huge military background. So the core was a big thing there and just, what that means at Virginia Tech. But, even though 6'3", this is a guy with 6'10" wingspan, like can absolutely grow into his body. Like he's a guy that, again, like we talked about it with Zeke, they are finding these guys that just like don't grow on trees, like you got to find, once you find them, you got to trust in your ability to develop them. And I think he's another one that they just, once they saw in person, it's just like, yep, we need this guy immediately. Like, you're telling me he has one more season to play and then he's going to college? Like, are you kidding me? So another story there. Someone that, sat down with Pry for about 2 hours, was not pressured whatsoever to commit, and just like loved the honesty of the approach. And at the end of it was like, what am I waiting on? Like, this is a place I want to be, and decided to commit. So some of these move a bit faster, some are slow, and then you get them on campus for officials. But yeah, this is a guy, I agreed with Robert there, like quick, very long guy.
Another thing I like seeing too, Brian, we'll put this up here. Right there. Another coming from a playoff team. Coming, like, Hayfield was a good team last year. DeMath is always a good team. So a team in the state of North Carolina making the playoffs, right? Like, again, Price talked to us about it. Guys who win, guys who know how to do that, because that's something you got to learn. Sorry, Brian, I stepped on you, man.
Hey, you're good, man. Are you good? And like you said, I mean, winning programs is definitely something that Pry has prioritized since he's been here. He's prioritized the state of Virginia and hitting the footprint, but also prioritized pulling guys from those winning programs. So this is just a continuation of that. And I mean, when we look at the next guy we want to talk about, Matthew Outen, that was a big one. Big commitment. Athlete out of IC Norcom, Portsmouth, Virginia, hitting the 7.57. 4-star kid, you got to love that. 6 foot 200, kind of that ideal size. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Outen here.
Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and I want to shout out Evan G. Watkins just because he pointed it out. But I know we'll get to the other headliner of this class, but back-to-back cycles with the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers in the boat out of the state of Virginia. This is a guy that very seriously was considering Penn State, loved his official visit there, and I think honored his commitment to coming to Virginia Tech for his official visit. And I think it really helped out that Virginia Tech had kind of the last say in things there, because they really were able to map out a path for him, and he really believed in the vision there. So Virginia Tech lands an absolute stud with him. I think he's a guy that can really do it all at the wide receiver position. I know he's listed at athlete, but he's a guy that I think can line up in a lot of places. You can get the ball in his hands in a lot of different ways, and just an extremely versatile and proven player. So yeah, can't miss 4-star guy.
100%.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about Outen for a while, just because, in my opinion, I know that Pry and crew were on him pretty early, but he kind of went quiet for a little bit, and with Virginia Tech, and blew up. So in the past, most of the time when that happens, you're like, so long, you know what I mean? But the closer and closer it got to commitment time, we're still in it. And then he commits to Virginia Tech. That's what you love to see. Speaking of that, again, can I just say everybody's my favorite? I said I had a favorite, but can I say everybody's my favorite? This is different though. The reason this is different is because Michael Matthews, if everybody don't know, if you don't know him, that you've been under a rock.
You have.
Again, with my son playing multiple sports, he is a player that I've told my son to take a look at, because I'm going to talk a little bit about his baseball skills. He's, baseball has him listed a little bit different than football, but we'll go with football. 6'2", 205. Baseball has him listed at 6'3", 200. So right around there. We may add an inch or something somewhere, but he's he has the physical ability on the baseball field to be the best person on the baseball field every time he steps on. That Ronald Acuna type outfielder, a little bit of flash to his game. He moves really, really good in the outfield. His hit speed through the zone. He stays through the zone for a long time. using, he's up the middle of the field when he hits. Like, I can go on and on about baseball because that's what we watch. But then when you go to go ahead.
54th rated player in the country right now.
I was going to say, and then, they're a little bit different than what you are in football because you're looking at stars. But when you go to Perfect Game and you look at his ratings and how he's progressed over the years as a 13-year-old, because they keep progression of, your exit velo and how fast you're throwing and pop times and things like that. Like, it's amazing what he's done in the couple of years that he's blown up to where he is. Now switch that over to football. I watched his commitment and listened to some of the things he says. And he says, football player that he looks up to is Deebo Samuel. That's kind of who he models his game after. And then you go watch the tape and you're like, okay, he don't mind taking the ball out of the backfield. He don't mind getting the short passes, making something happen with the ball. So, again, Michael Matthews, we're going to toss it to Matej. Y'all got what? 247 has it rated at a 92, right?
92.
Yep.
We're gonna stay at 92, or we going up, but I'm gonna pass to Matej. We're gonna pass to Matej, let him talk. What are you thinking about Michael Matthews?
Yeah, just from the football standpoint, like I know we talked a little bit about Matt Oughton and now Micah Matthews, but like both these guys are listed as the 4th and 5th athletes in the country. Like, these are guys that are versatile in multiple positions. You mentioned the Deebo comparison. I think that's fair to say. That's kind of what he's been pitched on at Virginia Tech, a guy that can have the ball in multiple situations. Like, both of these guys, it's going to be a fun offense in a couple years, but like, this is a guy that is just so dominant. The best player on the football team, the best player on the baseball team. Like, when we talk about athletes, we're not just like, multiple, like, a lot of these guys play multiple sports,
right?
But this guy could potentially go pro in 2, right? Like, that's what we're projecting with a 4-star here. Right. And he's someone that really loves the vision at Virginia Tech. I think football being so important to him was huge because it really came down. I know Utah was in there as well in the mix, but he was going to play both sports in college. They gave him a detailed schedule, what that would look like at Virginia Tech. And UNC was on him for a long time. And you look at it historically, UNC is the better baseball program.
Right.
And a lot of people thought that if he were more serious about playing baseball, he is a pretty good option there in Chapel Hill. But as it turns out, the pitch for the football team for Virginia Tech really stood out to him. And he was very serious about that. And ultimately, that's why he chose to be a Hokie. And I think, just a great player. I think my favorite quote, he did a sidebar with Colby. He said, like, his favorite route is running a slant because he's not afraid to get hit. He's not afraid of contact. He's a big kid. Like, that's someone you love to have in the program. Not someone that's just like so athletic and so skilled, but someone that has the right mentality. And I mean, I could go on and on about him. He's the headliner for a reason of this class.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna ask. Oh, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he really brings the. It seems like maturity as well. Like, seems like a really mature kid, and you got to be when you're playing multiple sports at a high level. It's hard to avoid, having some of that maturity, some of that those leadership aspects that you're looking for in the program as well.
Well, also that maturity too, because Tally, you made a point. Going to Perfect Game since you're 13 or 14, you better be on your P's and Q's because every scout is watching you and how you act and what you're doing. So if you ain't on your P's and Q's there, you're going to fall off that thing and be like, ain't going to worry about him. Go ahead, Tally.
No, I was just going to say, and then watching him, I was trying my best to find, like, somebody who does what he can do on the current roster. And the only person who I would think would be close is probably Jay Lane, right? Like Chat.
Okay.
Matej, is that it? Like, who do we use kind of in the area that we would use him right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have to look back, and I know it's a completely different offense, but like a Trey Turner type, like you just want to get him the ball however you can. I think that's kind of what he's going to be, just in a better scheme and, a bigger version. So just a really great all-around athlete. Like, he can do it all.
Yeah, right. And the other thing, y'all, if y'all didn't notice, I'm going to tell you mentioned how they were on athletes, the athletic ranking, 5th and 6th top players in Virginia. So couple months ago, people were getting very, very, very worried. Oh my God, we don't have a top 10 player. Clatterberg went down to 11. We don't have it. What are we going to do? Clemson is, and lo and behold, everybody be patient. Everybody be patient. Matej's clearly telling you that this staff knows what they're doing. And
Well,
they closed
I think 4 weeks ago, I think I think a lot of people had Matthews penciled in at UNC and Alton penciled in at Penn State. So
easily. I did.
So getting those commits is huge from that perception standpoint, getting back in Virginia standpoint, but also kind of calming some of those potential is 25 going to look be as good as 24 and all this other stuff, and now it looks like we're rounding out to about the same level as that class that we were really excited about last year. So and we still got a couple other guys in that top 10 in play too. So
yeah, and I just got to say, again, I know I mentioned back-to-back years with the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers from Virginia, but we're talking about Brody Adams, Chance Wiggins. Now we got Auden and Matthews. Think about that for a second. When has Virginia Tech's wide receiver room looked like that? Just from 4 names alone.
17 years ago.
A long time ago. So it's going to be a treat for whoever the quarterback's going to be, whether it's Pop or whoever else. That is a great wide receiver room to work with.
Oh yeah,
right, definitely.
And since we talked 25, let's flip over a little bit and kind of bring 24 back into it as well, because we had we took 16 and 24. It's currently sitting at 15 total recruits or 25. Are we thinking this class is going to be in that 18 to 21 range, or are we going to kind of stick back into that kind of 16 to 18 range with the size of the class and leave more room for potential portal grabs?
Yeah, I certainly think that as of right now, they feel really good about this class. I think there was a definitive push to get these guys in before all the vacations took place. There's a reason all these guys are in the class right now. They were, the must-haves. It's going to be the formula for every year. They're going to look at 16 to 20 guys. They're going to look for 5 guys, maybe more, that they can take out of the transfer portal. You just never know with attrition these days. But, it's about finding these guys to build up the base and then layering on top of that with transfer portal guys. So, I think they did a great job this year so far. I think my favorite quality about the class, you have 15 guys, 11 of them are from Virginia. So really sticking to what they said about the blueprint, about getting these guys back from the state of Virginia. And, these players are sprinkled across Virginia. They're bringing guys in at multiple positions for multiple schools all across the Commonwealth. They really lived up to what they were saying. So that's definitely what the blueprint is. If you replicate this class a couple times over, a majority of your roster is going to be top in-state kids. And then, you're going to have your drones, you're going to have your Jay Lanes, your Feltons, Ollie Jennings, all those kinds of guys. So you'll find transfer portal ads every year, but this is really the base that they're going with.
Definitely. We got to get some offensive linemen. I think they're doing all right, but next year, offensive linemen, please go get some. Speaking of, offensive linemen and still on recruiting with Matej Sis, I need everybody to be quiet and listen, because when the man speaks, he usually is doing pretty good. Now, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said this. I would have said he didn't know what he's talking about. But once he started coming on here and he started spitting that knowledge, man, it's been coming to fruition. So my question to you is, top 3 uncommitted targets. Who are they?
Wow, a lot of pressure on this one now.
Ratchet it up.
We'll see. Hopefully, out of these 3, maybe 2 out of 3 would be successful. The first guy is Messiah Delhomme, Warwick High School guy, Michael Vick, shout out. He's a guy that, he's being recruited by a lot of top teams, including Ohio State. I would say they are the biggest factor in this recruitment other than Virginia Tech. But he's a safety guy. I think he's number 4 in Virginia, 4-star guy. He's one that, again, when you look at this cycle, you say can't miss guy, position of need, like they want to bring him in. I feel really good about where Virginia Tech stands with him. I know, the conversation has been, Ohio State has 3 safeties. They have 2 cornerbacks, like they're pretty filled up. They would take him. Like, if Virginia Tech is able to land him, it's because they were able to beat out Ohio State. So we'll see. I feel pretty good about their chances right now. I'd say it's pretty 50-50. He's a guy I don't think will commit until maybe late in August, but someone that definitely is being prioritized right now. Another guy is Kendall Daniels, another safety guy, South Carolina, Virginia Tech battle. The story with him, everyone's saying, he's going to go to South Carolina. He's going to commit to them. Clemson's also in the mix there, but he hasn't committed there yet. And I keep going back to that. Virginia Tech has really worked on him. He's very high on Virginia Tech. He knows what the vision looks like. He's someone that I think could commit at the end of this month, if not early August. 6'3" guy, 210, could be a really powerful rover style safety for Virginia Tech. They're really going for the history there. Again, they're fighting against Torian Gray and Shane Beamer. So it's a big battle there. And, again, Clemson's still in the mix, but he hasn't visited there yet. So it's going to be a tough couple weeks for him. I would say South Carolina is probably 75-25% favorites right now. But I keep going back to that point that he's still listening to Virginia Tech, and you never know until he makes his commitment public. So the last one that I probably feel the best about is Jan Kamaju, defensive lineman, 6'3" edge guy, another one of those freaks, super athletic. Now, the story with him, he is he's an absolute genius. I think he has like a 4.2 GPA, very serious about engineering, works in Virginia Tech's favor. Like, he's a guy that Virginia Tech has been on for a very long time. Again, I think Virginia Tech is the favorite right now for him. I don't have a definitive time for when he's going to end his recruitment. I think it could be by late August, but just a huge guy. I know you said 3. Jordan Krim is another one out of South Carolina, 6'1" cornerback. Again, a lot of these guys are in the secondary. I think they really want to bolster the numbers there. Someone that camped and they really loved. He has kind of a scattered offer list, but Virginia Tech is very much on him. And he's, kind of a plug and play guy, so to speak, that, he just does everything that Cheetah wants out of that position. So those would be the 4 guys I would put at the top of the list. And I think, that would put Virginia Tech in that 17 to 20 range.
Okay. All right. So you're still feeling
that's the way you want to be.
Yeah. In this day and age, that's exactly the way you want to be. I want to throw this. This is not part of it, but it's a good question coming from somebody out here. RSD Man 97. And how important it is to having a good year to keep the guys in the boat. Well, I'm going to give my opinion on this first. Y'all, we're ahead of schedule. We weren't supposed to be having the conversations we're having this year about 9, 10 plus wins, compete for the ACC, backdoor chance at a playoff. We're ahead of schedule. So regardless what happens this year, I don't think it matters. I don't know if y'all's opinion on that, but that's my opinion because we're ahead of where we had 3 wins a few years ago.
Yeah, I will say, winning matters. You want to see your team go, and
Always.
You want to see your team go and put on a good showing no matter where they play and who they play. You want to see them win big games. You want to see them win the games that they're supposed to win. But I think, kind of to go with what Curtis is saying, if you listen to a lot of the interviews with the team, like Virginia Tech hasn't won anything significant in a while. So what you're selling to recruits is we're building. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of recruits say they're building something special there. I want to go there because they're building something special. So, yeah, you want to see the wins, and winning is important, but I think that for some reason, if things go to hell, I think you still have where if we would have had this player here, if we would have had you here. I think Pride kind of has that down where he can pivot and let recruits know what they're missing to what happened. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my opinion as well, Curtis.
Yeah, I think it's right there in line where as long as you're not taking a demonstrative step back in 2024,
right,
I don't think you're really at a big risk of something like that. So I think everyone wants to see the 9, 10, whatever wins, but I think 7 or 8, especially in the if you're talking about regular season wins, probably gets you back in that same, that doesn't hurt you. With this class. If you do that another 1 or 2 seasons after that, that's when it would start hurting you with future classes because you're not taking that next step. But I think as long as you kind of stay on the current trajectory and don't take a step back, I think you're pretty good to go, at least with this class.
And I'll say this too, like you think about last year, most of the class like this cycle was pretty much set in stone before the season rolled around. If you remember, by week 4, there was some scary talk on the timeline. Like talk that was making its way to recruits, talk that other schools were using as leverage. And in total, there were 2 decommits last year. One, Mensa, was because he always wanted to go to Ohio State. The second one was because Georgia came rolling around for Barnes, and that was his dream offer. Eventually, he goes to Syracuse to follow Fran Brown, but like those 2 things are happening regardless what happens on the football field. Right. Those were the only 2 decommitments. Everyone else, like there were some really rough times, and they stuck it through. Like these guys, when they say they're in, and when the staff accepts commitments, it's because they know these guys are going to be in. So yes, you occasionally see a decommitment, but like I would not worry about the on-field product as a result.
Yeah, it's those are 2 commitments where space in another place opened up that wasn't there when they committed. It wasn't that, oh, I'm panicking, so I'm going to take this offer that's still available.
100%. All right, one last question, and this is not only for Matej, but all 3 of us as well. But right now, one player in the state of Virginia, and I'm going to stick to Virginia so we ain't got to go through all the offer lists and all this stuff. If y'all don't have the list up for Virginia, it's in our chat here amongst us. Matej, one player in this state that's already committed that you say, whatever reason, position, who they're committed to, I want to flip that player to make a statement.
Okay, if we're sticking with Virginia, I gotta go with Caleb. I gotta go with Caleb Williams. Like South Carolina commit on the defensive line. He's someone that, even though he's been committed to South Carolina, and I still think he's pretty firm in all of that, like he's someone that is probably top guy that before the season, you're like, Virginia Tech needs to land him. Just a really dominant force on the defensive line. And I think a huge position of need, defensive tackle. Absolutely, that would be one that I think any Virginia Tech fan and all the coaches would welcome a flip for.
Brian?
Matej stole my thunder there, and that's okay because he's the guest today. But yeah, it's definitely Caleb Williams. And it's not even close. And for many of the reasons that Matej just said there, it'd be nice to thumb our nose a little bit down at Shane Beamer because of all the trash that they were talking up until recently. So that would feel good. Getting somebody else in Virginia in the footprint, really good frame, really good ability. He's already shown it. It's really a no-lose situation if we could flip somebody like that.
Tally, did you get the list up, man?
Oh yeah, you don't even have to look at it. Them 2 took it, but just because of where he's committed and who he is and what he does. But I'll go a little different. I'll say I like Deloach. I followed him a little bit. I know he committed to Cincinnati. I would still like for him to be a Hokie. And then another one that's not committed yet, but I think he's been leaning toward South Carolina is Jalen Gilchrist, big offensive lineman. Would love to see us, get in that recruitment. But again, you never know till you know. So that's
All right.
that's the two I'll throw out.
All right.
What about you, Curtis?
Well, I was going to go Caleb Williams. Exactly what y'all said. Also, RVA kid. And then these two guys jump all over it over here, Brian and Matej. So I'm gonna shift gears. I'm gonna stay in the RVA because give me a flip on Shamari Earls. If you toe down and take somebody away from Georgia, first of all, if that happens, it's gonna be double digit next to W by the end of the season. If they go flip somebody like that. Because I think that's one of those more of the statements you talk about, we're building a home. Now, if you come in here and get them early, we're going to have a season and we're going to take them back. Give me Shamari Earls down to Thomas Dale in Chester. So that's who we want. I'd love to see, before we get into our commercial break, from Main Street Pharmacy. If you're out there, take a look at the top 20 players in Virginia, see where they're committed. Who would you want to flip to the
Who you want, chat? Let us know, man.
Who you want? Robbie?
Tell us what it
Trevor,
is.
RSD, Thomas, who y'all want to flip? And we'll show those up as we go into the second half. But right now, quick break from our partners at Main Street Pharmacy.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. This is just something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
And there is Dr. Jeremy Counts and Main Street Pharmacy, our sponsors. I'm going to give him a shout out. If y'all have not checked it out yet, Jeremy has started his own little podcast called Blacksburg on the Rocks with former ESPN host Paul Van Wagner. Check that out. I've caught pieces of it. Y'all, Jeremy's so entertaining. He just, honest to God, is. He makes me laugh all the time. Also, late happy birthday. I was over last week for Jeremy. Happy birthday to you. All right, boys. Thanks for hanging out with us a little bit more, Matej. Finally. And I'm Brian. Were you able to rip them? Yeah, Tally's happy about this. Look at him clapping it up there.
Hey, we're getting it here. Hang on. I'm
He's
trying to
getting
get
it.
it added to the screen here.
So last Thursday, because of a gamer who has significantly early access to NCAA 25, which probably made all three of y'all jealous. Like, Why is this guy getting the access? The uniforms, or the brand new uniforms for the Hokies, were released. I got to give shout out to the social media. The social media with VT football played it all very well, made it tongue in cheek. And then the reveal the next day, Brian's trying to pull it up. I know mostly everybody has seen it. I know we have it, but give me y'all's thoughts. I don't care who goes first. Is it what you expected, what you loved, what you wish they didn't do? Tally, you're on mute, just so you know. What y'all think?
I'll let Tally go ahead.
Oh, so I'm first?
You first.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to lose my mind if that's what everybody thinks, because we didn't get the right color. But I will say, I think that orange is still coming. My opinion on the uniforms is they did a great job. When Pry came on, he was very honest about how he felt about uniforms and what they look like. So, in my opinion, I knew what they expect. I mean, of course, and then being a Virginia Tech fan, we kind of knew what we were moving toward, what looked good, what we wanted. But to see them executed and put out like amongst different fan bases, it's been well represented, man. People are really, really happy with Virginia Tech's uniforms. Like I've had a lot of people, or looking at a lot of people say, they think that Nike got this right. And it's mainly because everybody's looked so cookie cutter this year. You got so many teams that have the same template. It was good to see something retro and just a clean look. So I think they got it right, man. I just need them to give me a alternate orange uniform. Can we do that, please, Virginia Tech? I don't care what game. I don't care if we don't even wear it. Just give us one to let us buy it.
I think we have that game on the schedule, Orange Effect or something. So maybe we'll see it then. But I 100% agree. I think it's funny. I think earlier today I saw the UVA, and I don't want to poke too many shots at them, but like
take them. They deserve it for this one.
Every single comment was like, "Did anything change?" Like, it looks exactly the same. And I think when you look at Virginia Tech, like, yes, it is a lot different, but it's also very simple. Like, it's a callback to history, and then you add in some modern touches. Yep. It looks clean. Like, it's everything this program has been preaching. And to Tally's point, I think what makes the uniforms even better is, like, it feels like this offseason with everything combined, the expectations, like the positive momentum in all aspects of the team, the recruiting, now the jerseys. It's like for the first time in a long time, I've been covering this team for a long, long time. It feels like they are. That's a big one right down there.
That's a big one right there.
I didn't say it.
You didn't say it.
Let me say something right quick before you finish too, Matej.
Go ahead.
I want to say this because Kevin hit me up. Am I good? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We got you.
Okay. So Kevin hit me up on Twitter, and he's like, they got my son looking like a linebacker. Now, I don't know if y'all noticed, like, when that first came out, that's our quarterback in the maroon jersey.
Uh-huh.
That don't look like a quarterback.
It was funny to see, like the arms.
That is a dude,
gloves.
and that's a big dude, man. Like, that was our quarterback in the maroon jerseys, and I thought that was cool. I mean, like, just the reveal that they had was perfect. Like, the pictures were great. But anyway, Matej, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when Kevin popped up, I thought about that.
Yeah, and Dorian in the white. But the last thing I was just going to say, just with everything combined, the expectations, the recruiting, the jerseys, it feels like for the first time in a very long time since I've been covering this team, Virginia Tech is finally cool again. Like, nationally, they're cool again. And that makes the jerseys feel that much better.
Brian?
Yeah, Matej just said it. I think the relevancy of a lot of Virginia Tech, we made a name for ourselves for what we did on the field, but the late 99s and most of the 2000s, we were also known for having some damn cool jerseys while we were out there doing it. And I think we had gotten away from some of that, and I think going back to this classic callback, some modern touches, something that is uniquely Virginia Tech, I think was really important because, I think if anything, we wanted the shoulder stripes gone, but if they had rolled out with that like basic ass Nike template jerseys, we would have had a fucking cow, even though it was something new, and we probably would have liked them more than the shit we were getting rid of.
We would have.
We would have pitched a bitch if we came out there with those like generic ass double stripes on the bottom of the arm jerseys this year. So they got it right. They knocked it out of the park. Anybody can quibble here or there with details here, details there. You're going to have people saying something, but even as far as top to bottom, I mean, it couldn't have got much better for me.
All right. There's two things that I love about this jersey. One, the Hokie Stone on the inside. That is unique. Nobody else has something like that. The white is iced out. It looks beautiful. The maroon harkens me back. I'll always go back to those mid-2000s, all maroon everything. But what did we keep saying? We kept saying, get the arm patch right. That arm patch looks beautiful. That arm patch with that orange numbers. Tally buying jerseys just so he can get the orange numbers on there.
I already got one. I already got a Vic. The one that I got signed by Vic is the white one.
Is the white one?
With the orange numbers on the sleeve. So, yep.
That's what they got right. Love it, love it, love it. All righty. So that got revealed because of EACFB 2025. And I'm going to just sit this one out for a couple seconds. Y'all been playing Y'all have at it, boys.
Matej, you the guest, and you said you got it, so we gotta let you go first. What you think?
Just for a little context, like I could not be more excited about this game. Like I've been grinding it the last how many hours, 20, 30 hours by this point.
It's crazy.
But like I was the type of guy that was like downloading those updated rosters like off the dark webs.
Yep.
Like I was playing NCAA Revamped, if anyone knows what that is.
Yeah.
Like I was finding any way to play this game before this one came out. Now, there's a lot that's changed. The first game, Dynasty mode, I loaded up with UConn, trying to build them back. But threw 7 interceptions in the first game on All-American. 7. So it is a huge learning adjustment, but the actual feel of the game, like it feels very college-y. I like the updated, like just everything, like the pageantry, all of that. Yep. Like Hokies coming out. I know it's like a slightly altered version of Enter Sandman, but like it's so sick. Yeah. And it's just like I'm going to be like, there's a million options to play this game, like with a million different teams, get to know like what makes that program special. And I'm like most excited to figure that out. And the recruiting has been great. So I don't really have any negatives other than my gameplay needs serious improvement right now.
Yeah, I came out of the gate pretty quickly with that. I jumped on it right at 4 yesterday. Grinded on it for about 3 hours. I only got about a little over 3 hours today, so I haven't been, kicking it quite as much today relative to the time I was awake. But I like that it is, and I think this was the biggest ask most people had, and Matej, you already touched on a little bit. This is not a Madden clone with college jerseys.
Right.
This feels like a college football game. And I think that's the biggest thing that I like so far is that element. The recruiting is good. I think it's a lot deeper than what we got the last time out. Obviously, you got the portal in there now. You got NIL when you're doing the road to glory. So that like the things that you want to and the things that you look for in the game are there. I think from a game day presentation, I would want to like ratchet that up maybe for next year. Throw in some of the ESPN stuff or some of the things on some of the other networks as well. Whether you get some of that production in there, I think that would kind of increase the game day experience, opening of the game, the halftime stuff. But I think just the feel of the game definitely it feels like a college game, and again, over 12 years in the making, so it's nice to have it back.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm like Robbie, I'm still waiting on my copy. I got to pick it up Thursday night. I got a disc copy on my PS5, and I mean, they sold me with a locker and all this different stuff that comes with it. So I'm like, you know what? If it ever goes away again, can I sell it and make some money? So yeah, let me just do this. But my son has the Xbox, so he wanted it, so we got it on his Xbox for him. And I didn't play a lot yesterday. I just opened the game. I think it was we were playing Virginia Tech versus North Carolina State, and it is different. It is very different than like when you put it. You better be prepared to know what you're doing because you was gonna throw picks. You're not just gonna get out there and run for it. I mean, if you got it on got your settings right. I mean, I guess if you put it on, freshman, rookie, whatever, you do what you want. But if you're playing on All-American, like you got to get your mind right because they're coming for you. So the one thing I noticed with playing with Virginia Tech is, I mean, got a lot of. We talk about it all the time because we're Virginia Tech fans, but like to see it on the game. It's a fun team to play with. Like there's people who are not Virginia Tech fans that'll look at that team and go, oh, okay, they got a, nice stadium and, stadium noise is good on third downs and, home field is great. And, uniforms look good traditions there. And you really do have some playmakers on the team. So on the offense and defensive side of the ball. So it was good to see. And, just being in the game was awesome. And it brings you back to football. I mean, you took everything away from us. I mean, we didn't have college football for a while. I mean, you took away what's our show that comes on that they stopped making Last Chance U. We usually we'd be watching Last Chance U around this time. That's gone. So bringing college football back was a great way to get people to stay in the house and not go out and kill each other. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, July used to be all about preview magazines and NCAA.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and we got them back.
And now you got Matej grinding and killing 10-year-olds. Yeah, killing 10-year-olds online.
Throwing 7 picks a game.
Hey,
they're killing me.
We got 10-year-old was gas, man.
Kevin,
he came for your neck.
Do you know how cool that is, though, man? I seen Kevin post had a post on, I think it was on Twitter that I seen Kevin post, and his sons, like I got a couple of friends that are doing it. You know, I got one of my guys that's here that I sold cars with. His son's at USC. He went to Georgia State and then transferred over to USC, Southern Cal. So, you know, somebody like Kevin that's playing the game, your son is in this game. Two kids. Two sons.
Jeremiah too.
You know what I'm saying? You can't call them kids, like grown men. Like he's playing with his kids, playing with his sons on the game. Like that's awesome to see, man. Another one of my buddies, his son's at Kennesaw State. He's a cornerback. I seen him posting some stuff. And then my cousin, he's a high school coach, and he just had screenshots of all of his kids that he's got kids at high level programs. He got kids at Ole Miss, Clemson, Tennessee. He's got kids all over right now. So I seen him posting like clips of them playing with each other and them playing with themselves. And that's just awesome, man, to be able to get back to that and just distract you from all the bullshit that happens in the world that, you know, that people are tired of. Like, it's just, it's awesome to see, man. Like, I'm so glad it's back, and I'm ready for the real thing to start.
Damn right.
Yep.
And real quick, just so y'all know, Brian's low key in it because Brian doesn't work on Friday. So I got a feeling Brian's gonna pull.
Like, I'm putting in a lot of hours on Friday. I've been like, you know,
I got to get up to your house.
Giving a few hours here, a few hours there. Friday's gonna be, at least that whole morning is gonna be a marathon probably before we get some other stuff in the afternoon. But man, it feels so good to have it back, man.
Well,
it's just.
Well, let me ask y'all this because it came out a few days, I guess a couple weeks ago, and they were doing the toughest places to play. Texas 17. And y'all are now playing the game where they're saying like they got A&M at 1, Ugas 5, Swamps at 10. Is it? I mean, Matej, I think you mentioned it about having like the atmosphere of Tech, like this is real. Does that come across in the game? Like if you were playing LSU in Death Valley, like the controls are different. Like you try to hike the ball, like I'm pressing X, hike the damn ball. Is that something that's showing through in the gameplay about the toughest places?
So I haven't played like the top teams yet.
Okay.
So I'm sure I'll discover that soon. I did see, I'll probably throw 9 picks, but I did see that list. I mean, there's a lot of places on there. I think, you know, Tech definitely feels good. I mean, I was playing as Tech, but it feels great in there on third downs on defense. Mm-hmm. And it definitely feels that way. Like I'm excited to go to like the shoe and see what that's all about. But again, like I was kind of saying earlier, there's like so much to explore. Like I don't think I'll get sick of this game, which is a good thing. So definitely excited for those primetime matchups.
What about y'all, Brian? Tally just playing like the fields of some of those bigger stadiums that are the higher ranked?
Yeah, I mean, just a personal commentary. I feel like 17 is a little too low, but you know, I think top 12, top 10 maybe, but you know, 17, I'm not going to hate it. You can definitely feel the difference when you're playing in a loud stadium.
Okay.
I've played probably, I guess, a dozen games at this point. A couple big road games. Vanderbilt felt like you really weren't impacted. Unless there was like a tight moment or something like that, it wasn't going to get loud at all. When it did get loud, it didn't really show much of a distraction. Whereas you flip over, you know, you play somewhere else. You play like I'm trying to remember the one that I played West Virginia.
Okay.
It got pretty loud there. You could tell the difference, comparing that atmosphere against an atmosphere like down in Vanderbilt. It was a significant difference as far as that day-to-day impact. I'm looking forward to checking out some of the other stadiums. I've pretty much only played, other than like that one-off game against West Virginia, I've only played one other. I've only played the games on our 2024 schedule at this point.
Okay.
So, you kind of know what that looks like, and there's not a ton of marquee matchups, especially ones away from Lane Stadium this year. So,
How about you, Tally? Did you and your son mess around and play at some crazy stadiums?
No, man, I'm sure he was grinding on it all night. Like I said, I only played for about one half, and it was just, I just wanted to kind of see what the Hokies had and what they were doing. And
Okay.
the one thing I took from, so I haven't been able to get into the stadiums and things like that, besides playing at Lane. And it was getting loud on third down, and I was Virginia Tech, so it was helpful to me. But I'll tell you what, I wasn't doing very good running the ball, but number 33 was not going down with one hit. I promise you that. Like, he was getting me 3 or 4 yards when I was running into people. So Tootin is pretty tough on them. So it was I was like, dang, this looks like him for real. So it was pretty awesome.
All right, so now we got y'all having the experience and saying in the game, if you go to one of the louder stadiums, it's tough. Y'all saw the list. First of all, one stadium. Matej, you've been to some of them. We've all been to some of them. What's like that place isn't that loud. That place isn't intimidating. That place isn't tough. And if you need to pass, you can pass, because I got mine already.
I don't know if I need to pass. Maybe it was just because of the outcome of the game, but maybe Florida State.
Okay.
It was very loud in the beginning, and it was a phenomenal time. As the game went on, very much quieted out. That's because they scored 3 points. One thing I was shocked, though, that I didn't see on the list, unless I'm completely missing it, is Washington. Where's Washington? Are they on there?
I don't think so.
They are not in the top 25 though, so that's your too low. Washington can get insane up there.
I think that is one of the most underrated places. I've never been there, but sometimes when I'm missing football enough, I will go on those videos to see the fan bases screaming and shouting, and Washington is always up there. So I was kind of surprised not to see them.
Honestly, both of the big Pacific Northwest teams are too low, because Washington's not on here and Oregon's at 11.
Yeah. Who's too high then?
I think you go right back to FSU. I don't think it really gets loud at Bama. They just have a pretty high capacity, but
oh no, it's loud. You got a whole bunch of drunk rednecks. They loud. There's a whole bunch of them. But I don't know. I've never paid attention enough to the reason I say that, Alabama, being at Tuscaloosa compared to being at Auburn is significantly louder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alabama's louder than Auburn's smaller. But South Carolina, I don't know. Is South Carolina loud? They're on the list, and I don't hear people talking about, man, the game that. But again, I don't pay a lot of attention to them. But I just seen them on there. And was like, is South Carolina loud?
For a stadium that's older, they have a good stadium, but I don't necessarily know if they're super loud like that. Especially compared to the other SEC teams that are kind of on this list. They're right there, with Auburn in this list. Tennessee could be a little bit higher.
Tennessee could be higher. I agree with
Oregon could be higher.
They got a lot of people at Tennessee, man.
You me tell you who's too high? There's two that's too high. One is Oklahoma. I have never heard anybody being scared to go play in Norman at Memorial. And this other one is the Horseshoe. Because if y'all go back to 2014, watching it on my television set, we were the loudest people in the stadium that night. You heard more Hokie fans cheering than Ohio State fans that night. So I like what you said the other week, Tyler, when me and you chatted. It's tough to play because they got the best players. That's why it's tough to play at those places.
Right.
My too low, first of all, I don't give a damn. A&M does not need to be number one. LSU is number one.
Yeah,
LSU is number one.
I agree.
LSU should be number one.
I want to tell you something else too, man. Mississippi State, they haven't had the best program, But as far as being on this list with some of these other SEC schools, like you do not want to be anywhere near them cowbells when it's going on. And I promise you, man, your ears will be ringing. It is miserable. Like it's miserable to be there if you opposing team. You know what I'm saying? Like it's loud there. Like, and again, just looking at the list, like I was like, is Michigan State loud? You know what I mean? Like I don't watch enough games there to know, but I don't hear, like I know Michigan. I've heard enough games and seen enough games, but what Michigan is doing, like videos and things like that, but Michigan State, I don't know. So
yeah, it doesn't seem like that. The other one, Brian, and this is my other too low. Oregon should be higher. Oregon, Washington is an atrocity. They're not on here. In a team like Boise's on here. Like Boise's not loud. It's a blue field. Like let's be real here.
Boise's another one that like it's loud for a G5 program. Historically a G5 program, right? So it's loud for that.
Would you rather go to Boise in the blue field, or would you rather go to the Sound and go to Washington and play a game?
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna go to Boise.
Exactly.
Oh man, I could literally talk about this for hours. But
Arkansas may be a little high. I don't have enough frame of reference, but like I've never heard, damn, I really don't want to go play Arkansas this week.
Right.
Like that's not some shit that you hear. Like they're
loud.
Yeah, but they're not any. I wouldn't say they're any louder than your average SEC school. Yeah. So they kind of
because the thing that throws me off is like people say, you know, they just don't win enough to be loud. Like we ain't been winning, but we always have been loud.
Always loud.
Like that stadium's always rocking. You know what I'm saying? At least for a little while, maybe to halftime at least. You know what I'm saying? But some of these places I just don't see or don't watch them enough or see enough like of them being loud. Like there's no videos of them to support what the list was, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, nobody, like I said, nobody talks about Arkansas being a tough place to go. Like they just don't. You know, they might be tough if they're having a good year, but like nobody says, you know, upset city this week.
I do not want to go to Fayetteville
just because it's at Fayetteville. Yeah,
like, they say I don't want to go to Fayetteville. They ain't even talking about it. It ain't nothing fucking there.
All righty. Well, hopefully when this thing gets redone next year, we are back in the rightful spot in the top 10. Because that's, Brian, my opinion, what you said. You ever seen a 3-7 team just get sellout after sellout, and it's loud and you can't hear yourself think? That's what happened.
Hey, Pate was talking about it when he was talking about the Hokies.
Yeah.
Like, they were selling out when they didn't have anything to sell.
Exactly. All right, last piece, and I love it that it fell like this because of the building, or the name of this episode is called Building a Legacy. And if y'all didn't see it, go back and look. Back at the end of last month, Bill Connolly basically wrote an article of the top most 30 influential college football teams of all time. And I mean, you start looking through this list, you're talking about like 93 Florida, like the years under Spurrier when Fun and Gun started, the swamp became prevalent. You're talking about 19 LSU. You're talking about 86 Miami. You're talking about some of the teams like BYU and some of the Bama teams. And lo and behold, at number 20 is 1999. We did not win a national championship. We played. And when I saw that, and where we sit right now and where we were, what we've went through, and you see that pop up, and especially this whole thing, the recruiting momentum that Matej talked about all tonight, college football, ESP or EA CFB coming back, and damn, Texas 17, we're one of the toughest places to play. It's, I don't know. It just keeps me. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna do something dumb in a month here, y'all.
Don't drink a fifth of Evan Williams.
Will not do that. I will not do that. But
somebody else did that.
Somebody else did it. But
Matej, who did that? Who the hell did that?
Matej, but
nobody with a brain would do that.
But Matej, when you saw that list come out and you saw that and everything else going on, what was the first things that come through your mind?
I mean, it's great. I mean, I know it's maybe a little crazy to put in the context. Yeah, they played in a national championship game but didn't win. But when you think of like what the entire fan base has been dreaming about and like how that's kind of transcended what Virginia Tech is to the college landscape, Like we have our jerseys based off that year, like that is our influence. We're constantly talking about what Michael Vick did. And I think it's true. Like in a lot of ways, like Virginia Tech, when they are at their best, they are a part of the pinnacle of college football. Like they are what makes the game so special. And so it is extremely influential. I think 20 is great. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's a top 30 list.
It's a top 30 list. A lot of great teams not included on there.
It's tough to pick all those schools, but I think certainly a good shout for what has transcended an entire fan base.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's I'll go ahead, Brian. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna say, when you look at that team and what that meant for the program and how that program was already on that upward trajectory and that just kind of pushed it over. You're talking about the enrollment bumps. You're talking about the recruiting bumps that happened on the heel of that. And Matej, you touched on it, and Sheldon and I actually were on a podcast earlier this week, talking about teams that have a puncher's chance to make some noise this year. And one of the things that they were talking about and that I hear all the time, and it's such a compliment, is that college football is more fun when Virginia Tech is good, even for fans of other teams. Mm-hmm. And I think that means a lot as a Hokies fan, because obviously we're in the shit. Like we live it, we breathe it, we're here all the time. It's nice knowing that others see the value in the things that we appreciate, the things that we have always loved about this program. So seeing that getting celebrated a little bit and bringing some of that national relevance back has been good, and it started with that team, and that's why that team is influential.
Tally?
Yeah, definitely. It's like whenever you're making a list, like a most influential list, like I think a lot of basketball fans, whenever you talk about it, like you always go to who you bias. Like, oh, I'm a Kobe fan, I'm a LeBron fan, or I'm a Jordan fan. We're just talking about who's the most influential, right? So if you remove this team or you remove that player out of the history of the game, does the history of the game change?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely,
that's what you look at with that team. If you remove that team out of the history of college football, does college football change? It does, because you had a player on that. I mean, you had a lot of great players on that team, but you had a player on there that really transcended what quarterback position is. You know what I'm saying? Like he did 3-star, the starting ranking system, go to Virginia Tech, hometown school, drafted first, and then he went on to be who he is, Michael Vick. You know what I'm saying? And then now you see all of like the quarterbacks after him. Not saying there was never, a mobile quarterback before him, so old heads don't come after me. But I'm just saying the way that he played the game, a lot of people hadn't seen it that way. And even before that, you talk about like what Beamer was doing. Again, I hate to keep on bringing Kevin in it, but we've talked to Kevin plenty of times. And when he takes his son on a recruiting visit and he looks at the quarterback wall, I mean, it does make a difference when you are a African-American quarterback and you look up on the wall at Virginia Tech and you see 4 African-American quarterbacks that have been there, that's their greats. It's not a lot of schools that has that pedigree. Frank was great at doing that. He was going to put the best on the field. And that's what that team was made of. Whoever the best is, it don't matter where you come from, it don't matter what your ranking is, we're putting you on the field and we're going to go compete with the best. That's what that team was. That's what Virginia Tech has started to get back to. Brent Pry's done a great job to come in and say, we got to get back to those roots. And he's like the perfect husband. You know what I'm saying? Like you keep waiting on him to mess up. You're like, I know this motherfucker lying somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like everything that he says is like right. But he is who he is. Like everything that he said when he came in, like you got to go back and go, like he stuck to it. He stuck to his roots. He stuck to, the recruiting footprint. He stuck to what he says about the uniforms. Like, again, I know I'm getting off, but talking about that team and then leading it into what we see now, it's nostalgia. You know what I'm saying? And like, again, me being here in Alabama, everybody says the same thing. Like, we'll be in the office and everybody, college football's coming up, man. We can't wait to be. Who's your team? Oh, Virginia Tech. Oh, I ain't worried about that. Like, I'm happy about that. I don't care. We want y'all to be good. Because most people here are SEC fans. They don't care if we good. We ain't bothering them. You know what I mean? So they want to see us good. And it like you turn on the TV on a Thursday night and you see Virginia Tech, you know you're gonna see a good game. So
Yep. I'm gonna end it right at that because you put a great cap on it
Fired
there.
up.
Yep. Fired up for the season. We are getting in at 6 weeks away. Matej Sis, we appreciate you joining us tonight. And that is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
Matej Sis.
Visit our website, boundarycornervt.com, to listen to all of our episodes, newly in our merchandise shop as well. While you're there, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, all of your favorite podcast sources. Put in Boundary Corner, you will find us. I'm going to put this up here because Andretti, one of our listeners, looking for game tags. So if you're in the chat, put it out there. Brian might have to create a BCP homepage or something for NCAA college football.
Gotta get all the game tags, right?
We got to get our a dynasty together. We'll play some online
good.
dynasty here.
Nice.
All right. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long play us in, play us out. Check him out, jasonlongmusic.com. Link to all his music on Apple, Spotify, his YouTube and Facebook pages. And this Friday night, July 19th, he will be down at Blind House Beer Company, 534 Salem Avenue Southwest in Roanoke. Going to be playing a set, drinking some beer. Go out and say hello to our buddy Jason. We thank you all for listening, wherever you may be listening tonight. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.